I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know? What can be unburdened by what has been.
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 What we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Who we can be unburdened by who we have been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. Where we can be unburdened by where we have been and unburdened by where we are right now.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What could be unburdened by what had been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Unburdened by what has been, believing in what can be.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
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 What could be unburdened by what had been.
What can be unburdened by what has 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 been.
What can be, what should be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
See what can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Unburdened by what has been and knowing what can be.
Have a sense of vision about what can be unburdened by what has been.
To see what can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What could be unburdened by what had been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Where we can be unburdened by where we have been.
What was possible unburdened by what has been.
What can be 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 unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. That can be unburdened by what has been.
There are those who are unable to see what can be, but there are many more who are able to see what can be unburdened by what has been. I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know?
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Who we can be unburdened by who we have been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Where we can be unburdened by where we have been and unburdened by where we are right now.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What could be unburdened by what had been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Unburdened by what has been, believing in what can be.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
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 What can be
Unburdened by what has been.
what can be unburdened by what has been.
What could be unburdened by what had been.
What can be unburdened by what has 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 been.
What can be, what should be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
See what can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. Unburdened by what has been and knowing what can be.
Have a sense of vision about what can be unburdened by what has been.
To see what can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What could be unburdened by what had been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Where we can be unburdened by where we have been.
What was possible unburdened by what has been.
What can be 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 unburdened by what has been.
That can be
Unburdened by what has been.
There are those who are unable to see what can be, but there are many more who are able to see what can be unburdened by what has been.
You ready for a very radical statement?
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
You exist in the context of all in which you live and came before you.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Everything is in context of all in which you live and came before you.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. Of all in which you live, what can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been?
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been?
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. All in which you live, what came before you.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? Coconut tree? You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Everything is in context.
Fell out of a coconut tree? Coconut tree? You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? Coconut tree? Fell out of a coconut tree?
Everything is in context.
All in which you live, what came before you.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. All in which you live, what came before you. Imagine what can be unburdened by what has been.
Hello, everybody. Hello. How we all doing? Hello, Hit the Mat. Hello, Micah. Hello, Jennifer Holly. Hello, Banana Brains. Yeah, the image that I had on screen there was Tim Walz being hugged and cheered on by children after signing into law free breakfast and free lunch for children in schools. It's quite heartwarming. Hello, everybody. Doing great? Yeah, we won, fuckers! We won! Like, we may live in one of the good timelines. You know, good things can, in fact, happen. Like, yeah, the stark difference between Tim Walz and Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Well, that's a tab from yesterday. There we go. We were looking up the etymology of Jewry to see if it was a slur or not, because a conservative said it, and we all got a little nervous. 1 second. Is it this one? There we go. Is it? No. It's just mostly a European thing. Like, European... People will talk about European Jewry. It's one of those things that sounds like it probably should be bad, but technically isn't. You know, it's kind of more like it's really outdated. Yeah, legalizing child labor in the state and children being able to eat. Who would have thought? Children value being able to eat as opposed to as opposed to joining the workforce in the mines. Those children look bleak. Look, they're being signed up for child labor. Yeah. Also, we'll get to some other good stuff, but I wanted to talk a bit about what the ramifications are for this, in particular, because, oh boy, there are a lot. Because there were a lot of very influential people in Washington pulling heavily for Josh Shapiro. That's how he got so far, guys. Despite the fact that really the only things he would have added to Kamala's campaign is maybe carrying Pennsylvania, maybe, and maybe appeasing, like, Zionist factions in the U.S., but you're not going to appease them more than Trump. So, like, I didn't really understand the math behind Josh Shapiro outside of a lot of people want Shapiro. So instead, we have the good outcome, which is Tim Walz has officially been selected as vice president alongside, at least on the Kamala Harris ticket. Now, this needed to happen because yesterday Kamala Harris became the nominee officially of the Democratic Party. And the ball is rolling. We are officially in the general election, okay? And Tim Walz has been an incredibly effective communicator. Like, he within like a day, within like 1 or 2 television appearances on behalf of Kamala Harris, he changed the entire conversation across America regarding the mainstream conservative arguments that they're putting forward. Whether it's about like, well, we can't do good things because the government's bad. And he's like, oh, I don't care what you call it, but I believe in making sure kids eat. You know, that's an incredibly effective reframing of the conversation, right? And Tim Walz is the VP pick. It's true, Remy. It's true. We even have the we did it, Joe moment. We have it. Okay? Look at this. When I called Tim Walz this morning to ask him to join our campaign, I shared my deep level of respect for him and the work we've done together. We're going to unify this country and we're going to win. Let's go get this done. Look at this.
Kamala Harris, good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Madam Vice President.
Listen, I want you to do this with me. Let's do this together. Would you be my running mate and let's get this thing on the road?
I would be honored, Madam Vice President.
The joy that you're bringing back to the country, the enthusiasm that's out there, it'll be a privilege to take this with you across the country.
Well, let me tell you.
Can I just say one thing about Governor Walz? Dude simultaneously looks old, but kind of in that RFK Jr. type way. Like, I feel like I could see this man, like, in a crisis scenario, lifting a truck. Oh, this is staged. He wasn't just filming himself at his house. like this was staged. But, like, you know, like, he looks like he can, like, you know, handle himself.
Across the country.
Well, let me
honestly, Super Jet Guy, I think Tim Walz is way better than Bashir, but we'll get to that.
tell you, I have just the utmost respect for you. I have really...
Yeah, exactly,
enjoyed our
Unjust
work
Carly.
together. You understand our country. You have dedicated yourself to our country in so many different and beautiful ways. And we're going to do this. We're going to win.
Well, so I now realize that, yes, saying he's RFK Jr. old doesn't sound like a compliment. However, one of the main reasons, like, middle-aged dudes like RFK Jr. is specifically because they consider him pretty fit for an older man. Like, and I think Tim Walz can kind of fit in that mold, frankly.
And we're going to unify our country and remind everyone that we are fighting for the future for everyone. So let's get out there and get this done, okay?
Let's do it. Do the work in front of us. Let's win this thing.
That's right. All right, buddy. I'll see you soon. Take care. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Well, it's a good thing he didn't do a Minnesota goodbye on that one. Balls to the walls, baby. Yep, we're in it now, okay? Like, I think this is officially the inauguration of, like, the steamroller, okay? Because I have to tell you guys that with this pick, I think that Kamala Harris has locked in the youth energy for her campaign. I think she has locked in a very effective advocate on her behalf in Tim Walz. I think that she has solidified her support of unions with this pick. I think that there is a lot of stuff going on here that allows her to just move forward with, like, an unprecedented amount of energy. And frankly, the way Republicans are reacting to it indicates to me that this was the best possible choice. Because, like, guys, conservative talking heads like Joey Manorino over here are like, this is Tim Walz' family. Can you, please, I'll even zoom in. Can any of you tell me, what is the attack here? What is the attack on Tim Walz' family? This is like the most normal ass looking family I've ever seen in my life. And I mean, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. Like, they look like they got their shit together. They all look pretty happy. Like, but you see what I mean? The attacks against Tim Walz are going to be unhinged to a level you guys haven't seen before. Because we're kind of accustomed to unhinged attacks on minorities, like trans people or African Americans, stuff like that. Like, as a society, we're kind of primed to accept that. And for whatever reason, people seem to care more when people are unhinged about, like, what's perceived as normal. And what's going to happen here is they aren't going to be able to help themselves other than by trying to frame this guy as abnormal. Yeah, they have nothing to attack. You know, they have Harris, who so far they have not been able to come up with a single line of attack. Do you guys want to know what the new nickname for Kamala Harris is from Trump, by the way? Are you guys ready for this? Are you guys ready? It's Kamabla. That's what Donald Trump is trying to float today. Kamabla. I don't even get it. Wait, that's real? This is real. I thought this was parody. Nope. They have nothing at all. What? Yeah, like what is the attack? What are you trying to imply here? Kamabla? It just sounds like he's having a stroke. Bro, they have nothing. Yeah, was she trying to say Obama and said, like, Kamabla? Wait, that might actually be it. He might have been trying to, like, say that she's Obama. Kamala's black? Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Obama, Kamabla? I don't know. Oh, Kamabla? Like, blah, blah, blah? I genuinely don't get it. I genuinely don't get it. Yeah, but the thing is, you might say, oh, it's a typo. But literally every other person in that he names, Barack Hussein Obama, crazy Nancy Pelosi, shifty Adam Schiff, crying Chuck Schumer, that, like, every other person he applied a nickname to, I don't think he was gonna say her name correctly. I don't think that was his intent. I think this is just him taking a stab in the dark to see if it sticks, frankly. I think it's an Indian word. I don't think that Donald Trump knows anything about India. I don't think that is the case. Yes, we are all in the Neo K hive today, brothers, sisters, siblings. We are all in it today, but they really have nothing. They have nothing, and, like, I think that this is maybe nowhere as apparent as, like, the attacks that they're making on Tim Walz. Here's End of Wokeness. End of Wokeness tweeted this out, okay?
Whoa, wait a minute. There, that's better. Whoa, wait.
So, for those of you who aren't tuned into Minnesota politics, this is the old Minnesota flag, which depicts like a settler tilling the land of the frontier. And it's basically, you know the show Parks and Rec when Pawnee has like, you know, weird outdated murals or whatever? That show was making fun of places like Minnesota and Minnesota's like flags and seals and stuff. So last year, Minnesota voted to change our flag, and we accepted a bunch of new submissions. And so what we got was this flag. Now, it might not be immediately obvious from this, but the flag is shaped in the rough geometrical pattern of Minnesota. It's like a simplified Minnesota design here. That's what this, blue area represents. And then in the middle of the blue area, you have Polaris, the North Star, because we're called the North Star State. And essentially, they're trying to say that Minnesota changed its flag because we have a lot of Somali refugees that have come to live in Minnesota. And so they're trying to be racist about it, except like none of these flags look like that. like the color palette is different, the star is different, the shape of the blue is different. So basically, yeah, they're trying to say that Tim Walz, that this guy, is a secret agent for the Somalian government. Like, it's insane. It's insane. And I know that people are saying, like, end wokeness is Jack Posobiec. I don't really care who it is. I feel like all you need to know is, like, what it posts, which is white supremacy and, like, neo-Nazi propaganda. Like, that's what the end wokeness account posts. And, 3 months ago, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz replaced their state flag with a new flag resembling a Somali regional flag. This is Kamala's VP pick. It's like, you are accusing the governor of, like, one of the whitest states in the entire country of being, like, a Somalian agent? Like, that's insane. Like, that's actually insane. Like, weird doesn't really cut it anymore, because that's the thing. In order to try and make, like, Tim Walz look bad, they have to embrace ever more batshit interpretations or, like, flat up falsifications. That's they got nothing. They have nothing on the man. Like, to even hammer this home a little bit more, you guys aren't going to believe this, okay? You guys aren't going to believe this. This is the new attack being levied by folks like Chaya Raichik and libs of TikTok. They want to call him Tampon Tim. Does anyone want to take a guess at why they want to call him Tampon Tim? Is it because they think he's effeminate somehow, or because he does weird things with tampons? No, actually. The reason they want to call him Tampon Tim is because he helped pass legislation to ensure that middle and high school kids have access to tampons at school. So they aren't being charged for tampons in their institution of learning. That's what they're attacking him for. They're attacking him for, like, providing, like, hygiene products in a school. Like, they have nothing, man. They have nothing at all. Oh my goodness. Doing something based, again, Tim Walz is pretty good, guys. As far as like who Kamala Harris could go with for a VP, he's pretty good. Now, is he going to be perfect? Hell no, he's not. But the one good thing about Tim Walz is that I believe that he genuinely wants the best for everyone, and as a result, he can be pushed on different issues and different topics. We've seen him do it on gun control. He refunded all of the money the NRA ever gave him after his daughter, in the wake of Sandy Hook, told him he needed to do something. Okay? He's a good man. And I think he wants to do what is right. He went from having A ratings from the NRA to Fs. And you know what? He brags about it. He brags about listening to people and changing his position. And that is a rarity in politics. Oh no, hygiene, the West has fallen. Thank you for the $2 super chat, Tubian. Yes, he is also an extremely white Midwestern guy in like almost like an archetypical sense, which I think is going to play well as a running mate to Kamala Harris. I think that he will be a very effective shield for her to to basically absorb racist hate. Because the thing is, they're going to try and go after Kamala Harris as like this black supremacist or something. This radical, they've already been like trying to dig up like her mom's past associations with like the Black Panthers or something. And Tim Walz can be there to be like, nah, she also supports white people. Just immediately defang that line of attack. And I think that he's extremely good at that. He's shown that in his interviews. And the man is spiritually and physically Midwestern. It's true. They're scared. Oh no, this is Lady Raincloud. This is the part of the movie where we learn that these like seemingly inhuman monsters feel fear. That's the part of the movie we're at right now. I'm just incredibly excited. Okay, so what happens from here on out? What happens from here on out? Well, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are basically going to be embarking on a 7-day whirlwind tour of the United States, doing as many rallies as possible to keep the energy up for the base. And I think that's going to be incredible. Charlotte Nova, thank you for gifting Shaluna a sub. I appreciate it. And also, earlier in stream, thank you for gifting Super Jetkai a sub. They're going to hit Walz with BLM riots. Yeah, but the thing is, guys, do it. Hit him with the BLM riots, the protests. Yeah, it's the largest civil rights protest in American modern history since the 1960s. Okay, go for it. Let me tell you something. I live in Minneapolis, not far from there. And you know what? Guys, it's still standing. Like the buildings are fine now, okay? The buildings are fine. And really the only thing keeping it from flourishing right now is like an obscure situation regarding business leasing and the taxation on the leasing spaces, because to sum up, when the protests happened, big box stores like Apple, not big box, but larger companies like Apple pulled out because they got scared, because insurance rates skyrocketed, and they never came back, which is fine because honestly the area was way better before they muscled in and muscled out all of the local businesses. However, the city has yet to lower the tax rate on those storefronts in order for them to be leased out to local businesses. So, that's the issue at play here. It's really kind of like the liberal ideology of we need to wait for the market to correct itself versus a progressive solution, which would be let's slash the tax rates so that businesses can get started here. Maybe add incentives for like Black, brown, indigenous businesses being opened up in this area. You know, like that we could do that. We could fix the problem that is still in existence here. But the BLM protests didn't burn everything down. Yeah, basically BLM drove out big business and brought back local business, and would be bringing back more local business if the city council was a bit more receptive to calls to lower tax rates on storefronts. See you later, Raincloud. Good luck. I've seen George Floyd Square. It's a huge area of importance. It's a memorial site. Yeah, and you know what? It's fine. It's nice. Are you planning on watching the Philly rally? I will probably be taking a break between now and evening stream, but I felt like I needed to do an early stream to talk about this a bit more. Were you there participating? No, I'm an inside anxious bean. Let's see. Yeah, the horror, he's trying to help kids at school. Can you read my last comment? I want to see if you agree. He also represents a shift in focus for Democrats because Shapiro would have been the concession choice if they wanted to pander to the center. Walz is a concession to the left, having made Minnesota a sanctuary state for trans people and whatnot. This is the first major capitulation to the left that we have seen in decades. It's acknowledgement that the Democrats need us. Yeah, I mean, I think it represents a sea change moment. I think Kamala Harris is poised to become one of the farthest, if not the farthest left president the United States has ever had. And I think that that is pretty goddamn cool. And if we want to continue this energy and move it forward, we gotta like get our shit together. We gotta get out there. We gotta knock on doors. We gotta phone bank. We gotta text bank. We gotta organize. Because this is the kind of moment that does not happen very often. America's woken up, and it's time for us to get to work to keep the dream alive. I think she's going to be very progressive, but not on FDR or LBJ levels. But the issue is FDR wasn't progressive either. LBJ wasn't progressive either. Both of them were progressive insofar as they were forced to capitulate and come to the bargaining table due to the overwhelming support of leftist movements in America. And I think that Kamala Harris has very, very much the capacity to be pushed farther than FDR, farther than LBJ. That's the issue. The New Deal was a compromise to defang socialist organizing across America. And it was incredibly effective at that. It put Americans back to sleep for like almost a century. And so like I don't consider him a particularly, when you actually look at his politics, a particularly progressive or leftist individual. However, he was an individual who listened to his constituents and attempted to cater to them, and he was enormously successful in that regard. And I think we have a candidate in that same vein right now. Someone who is capable of being pushed, someone who is actually, able to meet the left where it is. And I think that's incredibly important. So I think it's important also for us to realize something, and that is we were never going to have a ready-made socialist candidate out of the box. Even if we had elected Bernie Sanders in a best-case alternate universe reality, we would still have to push him to the left. Oh my god, do I need to argue with you guys about FDR? FDR wasn't a socialist, guys. The reason FDR even floated the New Deal in the first place was because of like the rise in popularity of folks like Upton Sinclair. The rise in popularity of like socialist leaders and movements across the United States, the vibrant labor movement that was rising up. He was forced to concede, and his concession was the New Deal. He wasn't a progressive by choice. He was a progressive out of necessity because of the pressures placed upon him. I know you're not, Shaloon. Or Shamanite. My bad. Is Russia a threat to the USA insofar as, like, you know, the other power on Earth with roughly as many nuclear weapons is a threat to every country on Earth? Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Juzor. It's not uncommon. The issue is, like, I just don't want people to rest on their laurels because they think, like, oh, man, we have a progressive candidate. That's not what I'm saying. When I'm saying Kamala Harris is, like, a progressive, I mean, like, she... In the primary last time around, she was pushing Medicare for all. She was pushing for, like, socialized medicine in the United States. She's someone who is more amenable to, like, socialist reforms than FDR was at the beginning of his presidency, okay? And I think we can push her a lot farther. I think we can actually keep up this momentum and change the makeup and nature of the Democratic Party. And I think that that is incredibly exciting. From my perspective, the actual policies enacted by FDR are more important than his actual political beliefs. Yes! That's what I'm talking about! Like, fuck! That's what I mean! That's why I'm talking about the importance of us getting involved and pushing farther than what the candidate is already here! Like, what the fuck? My God! Am I stuttering? Am I being unclear? Think, chat, think!
Sometimes life is as much about the lessons you learn as the lessons you teach. When I grew up, community was a way of life. My high school class was 24 people. I was related to half of them. I learned to be generous towards my neighbors, compromise without compromising my values, and work for the common good. My dad was in the Army, and with his encouragement, I joined the Army National Guard when I was 17. I served for 24 years. I used my GI benefits to go to college and become a public school teacher. I coached football and taught social studies.
By the way, he's like a high school football coach legend. He's very good at coaching high school football.
For 20 years. And I tried to teach my students what small-town Nebraska taught me: respect, compromise, service.
Yeah. Watch out for headphone users. You know what? Finally, it's coming back to bite all of you. All of the audio little changes you've had me make over the past year.
The country. And so when I went into government, that's what I carried with me. I worked with Republicans to pass an infrastructure bill, cut taxes for working families, signed paid leave into law. I codified abortion rights after Roe got overturned. Because I go to work for the common good. But enough about me. Let's talk about you. Because that's what this election is about. It's about your future. It's about your family. And Vice President Harris knows that. She too grew up in a middle-class family. She too goes to work every day, making sure families can not just get by, but get ahead. We believe in the promise of America, in those values I learned in Nebraska, and we're ready to fight for them. Because as Kamala Harris says, when we fight, we win.
Not gonna lie, that's pretty cool. Headphone users are the bourgeois, let them suffer. Oh my God. Maybe he can use those coaching skills to rally Congress and the Senate to fall in line. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, another factor to keep in mind here are all of the down-ballot races. Like, I think that this is going to be... This pick is the ultimate catalyst for enthusiasm for the Kamala Harris general election.
No longer.
Charlotte Nova, thank you for gifting Witches Local a sub. And essentially, this is going to be something that allows... frankly, allows the progressive left and young people at large to be excited and get involved. Thistles for Eyes! Yes, we got Tim Walz, baby! We got him! We did it, Tim! We did it! And I wanted to talk about one additional thing that makes me really, really excited about all of this. And that is Minnesota's lieutenant governor. So, if Kamala Harris and Tim Walz win the general election, what happens to the governorship of Minnesota? This is something I hadn't looked into a whole lot because I didn't want to get my hopes up, frankly. But the lieutenant governor of Minnesota is a woman named Peggy Flanagan. And something important to know about Peggy Flanagan is that as lieutenant governor of Minnesota, she holds, I believe, and this might have changed, but I believe she holds the highest elected office of any indigenous, like, First Nations person in American history. So her becoming governor would then basically, like that is the highest level an indigenous person in America has ever achieved in government. And I think that's pretty cool. And not only that, who is Peggy Flanagan? Well, let's take a look here. And, yep, she is a member of the White Earth Band of Ojibwe. And she's also very cool. I wonder if someone has a picture. I wonder if the picture of her is in here. It's not. Damn. Here, let me find the picture I saw being circled around as, like, conservatives attempted to attack her. Yeah, here we go. This would be Minnesota's new governor. This would be Minnesota's new governor, guys, and I think that's pretty fucking rad. That's pretty cool. Like, oh, you're gonna attack her for what? Valuing the safety and health of, like, all kids in the state? Yeah. When did Minnesota get so based? The thing is, it has been based the entire time. Minnesota is one of the first states to have trans protections on the books. You guys may have heard me talk about this before, but we've had legal protections for trans people in Minnesota since the 1990s. Okay, since before it was cool. And in some small part, I think it might be due to the fact that essentially there's a bit of a break between Minnesota Democrat politics and the Democrat politics in the rest of the country, because Minnesota Dems are actually part of a slightly different political movement. They fall under what is called the DFL, the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. And that party got incorporated into the larger Democratic Party, but Minnesota still retains kind of its own slightly independent faction of Democrats. And because of that, there's a bit of a different flavor when it comes to Minnesota Dems. Also, Paladin, this is very cute. Like, how you're gonna try and attack this man? You're gonna try and attack this man, who's just thrilled to hold like a newborn piglet. You're gonna try and depict this guy as weird? Good luck. This guy is straight as an arrow, cisgender as hell, and whiter than the driven snow, alright? And the factions that want to spread hate and discord that thrive among the Republican Party find no purchase here because he's basically the epitome of everything they say America should be. He's very passive-aggressively Midwestern, Quiet Kitsune. I don't know. This picture is just so cute. Walz has a new cat named Honey. Oh. They're gonna try and make fun of him for letting his daughter choose amusement park rides because that makes him a bad parent. Yeah, I mean, like, the kind of things they're going to attack him for are going to be fundamentally alienating to both, like, Democrats and independents, and also to Republicans. There's no way to attack this man that doesn't simultaneously attack, like, a core part of the Republican Party itself, because they've made everything about identity politics. And, like, a movement predicated on, you know, white nationalism. And they might not call it white nationalism, but that is, you know, this Christian nationalist movement in America is largely predicated on ideas of white supremacy. And this is basically their kryptonite. This guy right here is basically the guy that completely and utterly destroys their ideological framework upon which they launch attacks on Democrats. Because, like, Tim Walz, you know, they were calling him like a socialist. You know, he's a socialist. He's a communist because he signed into law things that will teach children to expect a free lunch, to expect government handouts, and like, then he just goes up in front of the camera, is like, I believe in feeding kids. Don't know what to tell you. I think that is pretty obviously the right thing to do, and he's just like, I don't care what you called me, man. This is just neighborly. It's neighborly to feed your neighbors. And like, he doesn't need to say anything more to that. It's incredible how he defangs their attacks. Hey, Corey Blog. The attacks slandering the left as anti-Semitic for not picking Shapiro are disappointing. Yeah, especially considering Kamala Harris's husband is Jewish. Like, I don't know, is she anti-Semitic? I guess we should ask her husband. Is you know, behind closed doors, is Kamala Harris anti-Semitic to you? Just dropping slurs? Like what's the family, what's the home situation like? Because something tells me that Kamala Harris is not anti-Semitic. I think Zionism has just rotted a lot of brains on the left. I really hope there's a VP debate. Oh man, can you imagine? Oh my god. Guys, I hadn't even thought about that. Tim Walz is also basically kryptonite for JD Vance. Because JD Vance's whole appeal is being able to claim this hillbilly, you know, descendant status. You know, he's a man of the people because he came out of the hills, you know, came out of Appalachia. And like, meanwhile, Tim Walz is just like, yeah, I was a teacher for 24 years and in the, you know, in the National Guard. And like, I actually was a working man for like, you know, 25 years, a quarter of a century. And you went to Yale, JD Vance. You went to Yale and you wound up out of college working for a billionaire Peter Thiel and his investment company. Like, your entire political career has been funded by one billionaire. And like, I feel like Tim Walz can frame that in a way where it's like, Yeah, man. My policies are mine. Yours were bought and paid for. I think he can make that argument in a very compelling, blunt way. Yeah, exactly, Paladin lost. Like, I feel like Tim Walz can just somehow bluntly say, you worked for a guy who created spyware to spy on every person in America, which is what Peter Thiel's company Palantir did. That's what billionaire Peter Thiel sells. Minnesota still won't give back Virginia's flag. Good. Fuck them. You know what? Virginia can come and get that flag back when the South rises again, okay? And we'll do what we did last time. Flag of traitors. Can I just say, a lot of people wonder sometimes, why did you in Minnesota, why did you all elect Jesse Ventura? What was the deal with that? And I feel like part of it is really encapsulated with this particular sentence. Okay? Although various groups in Virginia have requested that the flag be returned, beginning as early as 1960, Minnesota has repeatedly declined to return it, with Governor Jesse Ventura asking, why? I mean, we won. And that is maybe one of the based and most funniest things I've ever heard a politician say. Why would we give this back to you? We had to come down there and take it. We're not giving it back. I really look forward to Tim Walz being called the DEI Veep. Yeah, honestly, let's go. Let's go. I'm ready for it because, guys, they've been setting up the DEI attack to be like a racist dog whistle for a while, and it's going to completely neuter that attack if they need to start calling Tim Walz the DEI pick, because we all know that when conservatives use it, they mean black person. They mean brown person. They don't mean white people. They don't think white people are DEI picks. And so suddenly having to use it for Tim Walz completely neuters the attempted association. And also, can we take a look? Okay. So, one of the things you might see flying around to attack Tim Walz is this particular image. Now, one thing I need you all to know about this is that Tim Walz was arrested and given a DUI in 1995. So, like, I don't know. Is this really the best you have? That, like, 30 years ago, he drove while drunk and no one got hurt? Oh, and wait, as a result of his DUI, he gave up drinking alcohol entirely. Harold, I actually did not know that part. Even if he hadn't done that, I still would have been like, this is the best you have, go for it. Welcome to the Midwest. You're going to basically just make him more popular by highlighting like something like every Minnesota teenager has done. Myself accepted, because I didn't drink alcohol until I was like 26. However, it's made even better by the fact that he like learned and grew and changed from that mistake and never did it again. You know, like that's the ultimate That's the ultimate sign that he's a good egg, man. Yeah, during the debate, I want Tim Walz to just bring out like a tinfoil tinted like Pyrex dish with his family's best hot dish, and challenge JD Vance to a hot dish cook-off, because I guarantee you, okay, you look at this man and tell me that man doesn't have a family recipe for the best hot dish you've ever had in your life, okay? You look at this man and you tell me that, all right? There's not a chance. Danny DeVito? Yeah, Danny DeVito. Basically, yeah. I just, looks like he can cook a killer brisket? Yeah, are you kidding me? This man has probably spent more hours than most of us have been alive in front of like a smoker or a grill, okay? Wait, he actually has he's made public his hot dish recipe? Oh, damn, dog! Want to know more about Tim Walz? Try making his hot dish recipe. He can cook, but is it weird that he sometimes uses peas? No, peas belong in hot dish. You can put peas in hot dish. Not gonna lie, this does look like it fucks. Okay, what is the recipe? Oh, damn. Okay. Tim Walz's new Ulm hot dish. Let's see. What's a hot dish, you ask? Here's an award-winning... Wait, he's literally won awards for his hot dish recipe? Are you kidding me? I didn't know this. I didn't know this, man. He's literally the most Minnesotan man alive. Oh my god. Okay, 1 package of brats, 1 bottle of Shell's beer, 1 onion. Oh, it's like a beer batter? Nice. Teaspoon garlic powder, 1 cup chopped celery, 1 cream of cheddar soup, 1 cream of mushroom soup, ½ cup of milk, 1 cup sharp cheddar cheese, and 1 package of tater tots. I'm not gonna lie, this does seem like all of this is gonna be good. Bring a pot of water to a boil, add beer, onions, and garlic powder. Submerge brats in the pot and reduce heat to medium and cook for 10 minutes. Remove and let cool. Butter the casserole dish. Combine remaining ingredients, minus the tots, into a separate bowl. Chop up the brats into bite-sized pieces and add together with the other ingredients. Pour the mixture into the casserole dish, top with tater tots, and bake for 1 hour at 350 degrees. Sprinkle with cheese for the last 10 to 15 minutes of baking. I'm not gonna lie, guys. That sounds fire. That sounds absolutely fire. You know, you're gonna have to do a cooking stream now. I'm gonna have to... I didn't like doing my last cooking stream. I feel like I need to lose, like, a lot more weight before I stand up on camera repeatedly. But I'm definitely going to make this, and I will report back. And if I like it, I will do a cooking stream on it. 1 hour at 350 is how you bake everything in Minnesota. That's true. That's true. Hi from Minnesota. My partner has referred to 350 degrees as like the temperature all white people bake at, and you know what? I can't say she's wrong. It's you know I can't say she's wrong. That's true. It's, you know, it's for whatever reason we just don't go higher than that. It's too hot. I've been trying to rehabilitate myself into higher baking temperatures. Does that mean I'm not white anymore? I don't know. Guy's a hunter too? Yeah, he hunts. Like, dude isn't anti-gun. He's just in favor of common sense gun control, and I think that the fact that he does hunt makes him such a harder person to attack on this. This is literally the sleaziest presidential candidate versus the wholesome man. This is getting better and better. No, it really is, Tubian. Like, Kamala Harris is unassailable by Donald Trump. Like, there's nothing Donald Trump can say to or about Kamala Harris that doesn't make Donald Trump look incredibly racist and bad, because we all know that in his head he's trying desperately not to say the N-word when he talks about Kamala. Like, that's his thing. And he was really hoping for a VP pick that would be a liability that he could attack, and now he's got nothing. Man, he's got nothing, because in comparison with Tim Walz, Donald Trump is even more monstrous, you know? Like, just by virtue of Tim Walz's presence, Donald Trump is monstrous. Like, Tim Walz is a man of such principle that he was a public school teacher for a quarter of a century, while serving in the National Guard and being deployed to, like, disaster zones to actually help people, you know? Like, he's a man of principle. And the presence of principle is something that Donald Trump hates beyond any other quality.
This is literally the sleaziest presidential candidate versus the wholesome man. This is getting better and better.
It's true. I mean, there's a reason why I opened stream with this image. Like, you can't beat him. Do you think Donald Trump has ever done anything that makes children genuinely like him and genuinely, like, want to, like, give him a hug? No! Not at all! You can see how he hugs his own kids, and they barely look like they like being touched by him. Is that a new bot voice? For whatever reason, super chats and, like, memberships on YouTube get a different voice. I want to fix it, but I haven't been able to yet. Nerodia, thank you for gifting Somnio Static a sub. I think he hates being called weird more. Oh yeah, he absolutely does. Yeah, amazing. Footage of him hugging little girls where the little girls don't look immensely uncomfortable. Yeah, that is a challenge in the Republican Party that is impossible. God. That picture has accidental Renaissance vibes. I agree. Don Jr. wants a hug from Daddy so badly. It's true. The way Tim Walz talks about them being weird, he hates them, you can tell. Yeah, and you know what? He should. They are evil. And honestly, what makes the weird, you know, the weirdness stick is the sincerity with which it is being uttered. It's not just like, oh yeah, your bigotry is weird. No, it's like, you're disgusting and should be shamed and ostracized from the potluck. You know, it's the same kind of like, I don't know what his religious background is, but to me it seems like a very, like, rural Lutheran thing where, like, Peggy came to the potluck and she brought, like, you know, something she bought from the store. She didn't actually make anything for the potluck. And I hear that she's fooling around on her husband again. You know, it's the energy of, like, the passive-aggressive Minnesota society weaponized on the political stage. And as someone from Minnesota, it's very weird seeing, like, my internal family dynamics playing out on a national stage with such effectiveness. Yeah, no, exactly, Brianna Huffman. You can't go on CNN and say that Donald Trump should get fucked. You know, you can't tell him to go fuck off on CNN. What you can do is, in the most Minnesota passive-aggressive way possible, tell him to get fucked, but with a charming smile and also, like, oh, you know, it's the Midwest equivalent of the, oh, bless your heart, you know? Yeah, it is the Midwestern dog whistle of get fucked. Tina too. Welcome, Raiders. How you all doing? Hope you had a good stream with Tina. Folks, go follow Tina_TOO2 over on Twitch. Longtime friend of the show. I live in Minnesota and I was born in Minnesota and I'm loving it. It's nice. I like it. I like Minnesota a lot. Okay, to be fair, Biden doesn't have a political picture with a kid that isn't his own. That doesn't look weird either. I think it's just a politician thing, like a game debuff. Well, yes. I'm just saying, like, that's not... I don't think children looking uncomfortable in politician photographs is unique to Republicans. I just think that it tends to be far more widespread among Republicans. Biden absolutely does have weird pictures of him and kids, but, like, I think Tim Walz here is kind of like, you know, one of the first high-profile politicians where it's like, oh, the kids are actually hugging him. He, like he's not hugging an uncomfortable-looking kid. How do you think he'll help with the Electoral College? I'm very excited about the guy. I think he's going to do gangbusters. My original prediction was Andy Bashir because I thought Andy Bashir's Southern accent, or Roy Cooper, rather, was my original prediction. Andy Bashir was my other prediction. And both of them have a lot of appeal in the South. Lizzie Nepon, thank you for subscribing and for being subscribed for 29 months. My God. Over 2 years. So I think that despite the fact that we don't have a VP pick with a Southern accent, I think Tim Walz and his bluntness and straightforwardness, I think he hits a lot of the same notes that are necessary to win Southern states. So it's... I think that overall, he's going to help. Maybe not quite as much as someone with that Southern twang, but I think he will help to secure those Southern states. I think that he speaks in a way that clearly resonates with a lot of people, that clearly points out, like, these really off-putting mannerisms and policies being put forth and championed by people who are who are personally weird as well. Like, I think that his attack changed the entire dynamic of how we talk about politics in this country, and that might be short-lived, but it is the moment of the times, you know? Yeah, Roy Cooper never filed because he didn't want to throw the governorship to... Yeah, the lieutenant governor of North Carolina is insane. Has he come out and said that in an interview that that's why he didn't file? Yeah, exactly, Sundry Clown Car. That's kind of where I am. Like, I don't know if Tim Walz permanently changed how we talk about politics, but right now, he's the man for this particular job. You know? So, Julia. Nice to tune in for positive news regarding Kamala's pick for VP. Was watching a video about the National Socialist Network in Australia, i.e. our Nazi party. Very upsetting. Y'all calmed me. Well, I'm glad we can provide you some hopium. Because, you know, one thing I really love about the Walz pick is that it's making Nazis incredibly angry. You know?
Fun Ant. Cool Grandpa 2024. Let's go. BWA.
True. Thank you for the $5 dono, very knifey duck, and I appreciate all of the support from you guys. You know, this show is only made possible by viewers like you dropping subs and donos. I don't make enough money to live on off of the advertising, so you guys mean the world to me when you drop those subs and donos. That you guys make the show possible. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. The passive-aggressive, your wife's pecan... I couldn't help but notice that your wife's pecan pie was store-bought. Yeah, that is single-handedly more devastating than any insult you could possibly come up with, you know? Like, that is the battlefield Tim Walz grew up upon. Yeah, Walz also doesn't look like a guy who fucks his own couch, you know? But I missed the follow-up from Joey Manarino earlier. This looks normal? What's the problem here? Just sharing. We'll let others find problems, if there are any. Like, he didn't even have an attack, man! He didn't even have an attack! It's insane! They're just posting random images of him. Literally, they're just posting images of him, and they're like, "Yeah, this." They don't have any attack on him. They just post pictures of him. It's very silly. Oh man, this is bad because he's standing next to woman bad. Oh yeah. I forgot that Ben Shapiro tried to attack Tim Walz for, I guess, looking like, what's his name? The Chris Farley? I don't know, man.
Everybody in this room knows, I know it as a teacher, a bully has no self-confidence. A bully has no strength. They have nothing. The fascists depend on fear. The fascists depend on us going back. But we're not afraid of weird people. We're a little bit creeped out, but we're not afraid. Everybody in this room.
Like, he is not afraid to just go out there and just be like, yeah, they're fascists. And you know what? The best way we can destroy them is by holding our ground, standing our ground, advancing, and calling them fucking weirdos to their faces. Also, worth pointing out here that, like, he does look old, but, like, dude's got a lot of time in him. They're basically the same age. Kamala Harris, I think, is like a year younger than Tim Walz. Yeah, like, this is a good combo. Like, you might think he looks old, but Tim Walz has the stamina to actually go and campaign, you know? Is the campaign event happening? Looks like they just walked out together.
Good evening, Philadelphia!
He looks like cool-ass grandpa. True.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, see, he's tall as fuck. Like, look, I wasn't kidding about the fact that I think in a crisis scenario, even though he's 60, he could probably lift the truck.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Do I need to turn this up a bit?
Good evening. Oh, it is good to be back in Pennsylvania.
Oh man, extra salt in the wound. They're doing the event in Pennsylvania.
So let me say, on behalf of myself and the first, second gentleman of the United States, my husband, Doug Emhoff, thank you for the warm welcome.
The only way this could possibly get better is if, like, Tim Walz, like, just works out every day and gets absolutely yoked while on the campaign trail, okay? Just let's get yoked politician grandpa into office. It's the only way his candidacy could be better.
It's good to be here with all of the friends, all of the leaders who are here. I want to thank former Governor Ed Rendell, Senator Bob Casey, who we will re-elect this November.
Oh my God, wait. Oh my god. Come on. Yeah, like Tim Walz coming out here on election night, okay? Coming out here on election night, just like, boom! Boom! I'm yoked, motherfuckers!
Senator John Fetterman, Mayor Sherelle Parker, and Chairman Jamie Harrison. And it is so good to be here with your incredible Governor, Josh Shapiro.
But yeah, Shapiro needs more time to cook. And see if, like, he has staying power.
And I will say, Josh is a dear, dear friend.
Yeah, Josh Shapiro isn't great.
Extraordinary leader. He and I have been spending a lot of time together over the years. And I told Josh, look, I am so invested in our friendship in doing this together, because together with Josh Shapiro, we will win Pennsylvania. We will win Pennsylvania. And I thank you, Josh. I thank you.
Hot dish, son. Yeah, also, can we just take a moment to appreciate that Tim Walz knows how to wear a suit, okay? The collar gap. The collar gap isn't there.
Philadelphia, I launched my campaign for the President of the United States a mere 2 weeks ago.
God, it feels like a lifetime.
And it's been a bit of a whirlwind. And just last night, the delegates to the Democratic National Convention finished voting. And so, I stand before you today to proudly announce I am now officially the Democratic nominee for President of the United States. And so now we got some work to do. We need to move to the general election and win that. And to all the friends, listen, we also need to level set. We are the underdogs in this race. But we have the momentum, and I know exactly...
Look at how happy he is. He's just happy to be alive, man.
...what we are up against. Now, many of you know, before I was elected vice president or elected a United States senator, I was an elected attorney general, and before that, elected district attorney. And before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor. So in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who scammed consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say,
the energy here is insane.
I know Donald Trump's type.
The energy, like, can we just take a moment, like, while she has repeated this over and over again, it works, man. It hypes up the crowd. It hypes up the crowd. And you know what? If it works, run with it. Run with it. People like having that consistency to latch onto.
So, but let me say, hold on. This campaign, our campaign, is not just a fight against Donald Trump. Our campaign, this campaign, is a fight for the future.
And see, this is what I really like. I know I'm being real pause champ right now, but I really love that Kamala Harris is pivoting away from the primary point of her campaign being in opposition to Donald Trump. Like, as if, like, just opposing Donald Trump is enough to win her the campaign. And this is, like, the fact that she's pivoting from a lock him up chant to a, no, actually what our campaign is really about is a fight for the future. Let us not be mired in this fight against, like, this, you know, diminished Dark Lord. We're fighting not just to defeat him, we're fighting for our children and for our children's children and for the betterment of all of us. We are fighting for what can be, unburdened by what has been. And I think that is an amazing set of messaging. I think that this pivot is actually an incredibly lovely moment that really hammers home the difference between a Kamala Harris campaign and a Joe Biden campaign. Because Joe Biden was incapable of running on a better tomorrow.
It's a fight for the future. And Pennsylvania,
we should still lock him up, though. Yes.
For a future with affordable...
Which, you know, just one small update on that before we continue watching this. Just one thing. It might have been overlooked a bit here, but I'm just gonna throw this out there. This story dropped yesterday. The Supreme Court rejects Missouri's bid to halt Trump's sentencing in New York hush money case. So, what day is he going to be sentenced again? Let's see. Yes, he's being sentenced on September 18th. And, I mean, the article says September 18th, so... and apparently the gag order that limits what he can say in public about the case is still in place. Meaning that he can't talk about the prosecutors or court staff and their families. So, yeah, he's going to be sentenced for... and I think we need to take a moment to just let it sink in. He's being sentenced for 34 felonies that he was convicted on. He was convicted of 34 felonies. So it'll be interesting to see if the conviction allows him to do like house arrest, like how it's gonna work, because this is unprecedented and unprecedented. Unfortunately, our system is stupid and a felon can still run. Yeah, the Founding Fathers didn't really foresee people wanting to vote for, you know, a convicted felon. But, you know. Anyway.
Housing, affordable health care, affordable child care, paid leave. We fight for a future where we build a broad-based economy, where every American has the opportunity to own a home, to start a business, and to build wealth.
Tim Walz just standing back there being like, that's right, I'm your hype man. She's nailing this.
Fight for a future where we bring down prices that are still too high and lower the cost of living for America's families.
I saw someone reply to a tweet where they were pointing out Tim's DUI, and the response was something like, cool, just 33 more felonies before he's someone you'd vote for. Yeah.
So that they have a chance not just to get by, but to get ahead.
Oh, by the way, just as an FYI, for legal reasons, if you get a DUI or a DWI, the first one isn't a felony. in Minnesota, you only have actually you actually can get 3 DUIs within 10 years with it not being a felony. If you get 4 within 10 years, it becomes a felony DUI, and then if you then get another DUI after that, it's automatically another felony DUI. So he's not a felon, guys. He just has a DUI. Oh, it was in Nebraska, and also fair. I don't know what Nebraska DUI rules are in the 90s.
Where we defend our most fundamental freedoms, the freedom to vote, the freedom to be safe from gun violence, the freedom to love
who has a DUI? Tim Walz. Tim Walz got a DUI 30 years ago. And then he gave up drinking ever again since that moment. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like attacks on him only kind of solidify his character as a man, and especially a Midwest man.
Love openly and with pride. And the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body, not having her government tell her what to do. So, I love you too. So here's the thing.
I love you too.
Here's the thing. Since the day that I announced my candidacy, I set out to find a partner who can help build this brighter future. A leader who will help unite our nation and move us forward. A fighter for the middle class. A patriot who believes, as I do, in the extraordinary promise of America. A promise of freedom, opportunity, and justice, not just for some, but for all.
I'm riding high on the hopium today, friends.
So, Pennsylvania, I'm here today because I found such a leader. Governor Tim Walz of the great state of Minnesota.
To the window, to the walls.
To those who know him best, Tim is more than a governor. To his wife, Gwen, he is a husband. To his kids, Hope and Gus,
oh,
he is a
I didn't
dad.
know he had a son named Gus.
To his fellow veterans, he is Sergeant Major Walz. To the people of southern Minnesota, for 12 years, he was congressman. To his former high school students, he was Mr. Walz.
This man is the goddamn kryptonite to the entire Republican Party right now. This ticket is poison to them.
To his former high school football players, he was coach.
Yeah, J.D. Vance about to get topped like a couch.
Coach. And in 91 days, The nation will know Coach Walz by another name, Vice President of the United States.
The energy here is ridiculous. Tim. Oh my God, they're even chanting his name.
So, America...
Do you know how rare it is for a vice president to be like, a vice presidential candidate to be commanding this much, like, enthusiasm? Do you guys remember that ever happening in a previous election? Because I'm having trouble. I'm scratching my brain about it. Who's Tim? Tim Walz is the governor of Minnesota, and he's a pretty goddamn good governor.
For some folks,
Yeah, he's not even talking yet.
Story. And I'll tell you, he is the proud product of a middle-class family in rural Nebraska.
This election is America's mom and dad versus Orange Hitler and his couch fucking Igor. Yeah, I mean, like, guys, he's not a socialist, but we were never gonna get that. This is about as good as our current political paradigm allows.
Veteran who served our nation in uniform for more than 2 decades as a member of the Army National Guard, and he went to college on the GI Bill. He is someone who longs
Your mom is
for
Professor Funbags? Hi, Jazz Dog's mom.
When Coach Walz and his wife Gwen moved from his native Nebraska to Minnesota nearly 30 years ago, they both took jobs at the local high school.
Oh, guys, you know what? Let's float another attack here, okay? Because conservatives really don't know what's going on, and they're trying everything right now to see what sticks. One of the most desperate among the Twitter, influential Twitter Republican talking heads is Joey Manarino, who made a name for himself during the Bud Light boycott by calling every Bud Light image that he could find, like a can or bottle of, excuse my language.
Mom Snipe BWA.
Oh, very knifey duck. Thank you for gifting a sub to Professor Funbags. But Joey Manarino basically made a name for himself by just calling every Bud Light image he could find a can or bottle of tranny semen. That was his thing. He just couldn't stop talking about it for like an entire year. He's a very disturbed man. But here is the attack he's attempting on Tim Walz. Tim Walz dressed up his dog for a pride parade, and he's basically a Somalian. I won't say the rest, but I hope that dog is okay. And what is this attack? Like, what, like, no, seriously, Joey Manarino, what are you implying here? Are you implying, like, he's gonna eat the dog? Are you implying that the dog is a Somalian because you're racist? Like, what? Again, I need to tell you guys, the fact that Tim Walz is just a normal, cool, white dude is basically the worst nightmare of Republicans. They have nothing on him. And so you're just going to get these unhinged, racist attacks against him that are going to get worse and worse as time goes on because they have nothing on him. They've got nothing. And there's no way that they're going to find something, because if they could find something, they would have found it by now. It's not like he's an unknown political entity.
Coach Walz taught social studies, Gwen taught English. After school, Tim was the linebackers coach for the football team. Where I've heard the stories about he had a knack for using the game of football to teach life lessons. He saw the potential in kids who sometimes didn't even see it in themselves.
Yeah, okay. Everyone, every Republican right now is just screaming expletives into pillows while trying desperately to come up with a way to make this guy who inspired, like, high school children, to seem like he's the worst man imaginable. That man is my VP. That's okay, OS Crane. I'll share.
Coach Walz motivated his players to believe they could achieve anything. And together, they defied the odds, hear this out, going from a winless record to the school's first ever state championship.
Yeah, like, he's a good coach. Yeah, this guy who coached high school football, he's weird. He's weird and beloved by all of the students, and also, you know, led them to their first state victory.
And I'll say and I'll add, Tim wasn't only a role model on the football field. Around that same time, Coach Walz was approached by a student in his social studies class. The young man was one of the first openly gay students at the school and was hoping to start a gay-straight alliance. At a time when acceptance was difficult to find for LGBTQ students, Tim knew the signal that it would send to have a football coach get involved.
Dude's literally an ally. He did it when it was not the popular
he
thing.
signed up.
Like guys, he did it when during the time period when, like, my partner and I were growing up here, okay? And I need to remind all of you, in the 90s, even though Minnesota was a relatively progressive place, people would violently protest any kind of gathering of LGBTQ people, okay? I've told this story before, but my partner went to a gay prom. And protesters showed up at that event with their own bucket of rocks with which to throw at the gay students. That's where we were, and he was out there standing alongside gay people. Before that, when it was even worse. So, like, yeah, grown-ass people showing up to throw rocks at children. I think Jesus said something about that, but I just can't remember.
To be the group's faculty advisor.
And by the way, just as a reminder, in case you forgot how high school works, you need a faculty advisor in order to form the group, and often in rural areas, you wouldn't be able to find an advisor because no one would be willing among the staff to be that.
And as students have said, he made this school a safe place for everybody. In the high school yearbook, the students voted Coach Walz the, quote, most inspiring faculty member. And as I think everyone here can see, Tim Walz was the kind of teacher and mentor that every child in America dreams of having, and that every kid deserves. The kind of coach, because he's the kind of person who makes people feel like they belong and then inspires them to dream big. And that's the kind of vice president he will be. And that's the kind of vice president America deserves. So it was Coach Walz's students who actually helped him decide to run for office. And he served 12 years in Congress, representing a purple district as he reached across the aisle to get things done. He was the highest ranking enlisted man to ever serve in the United States Congress. And the top Democrat on the Veterans Committee. And he was known as one of Capitol Hill's best marksmen.
Yeah, not only is he like a guy who hunts, he's a very good shot.
Winning a bipartisan sharpshooting contest year after year.
He's like, it's true, I can't miss.
In Washington, Tim worked to raise the minimum wage, to protect the freedom of workers to join a union, and he cast one of the critical votes to pass the Affordable Care Act. Which, of course, gave health insurance to tens of millions of Americans. I'm going to tell you, when we win, Tim and I will continue to make the Affordable Care Act even...
What kind of Gary Stu OC is this guy? Yeah, I mean, he's basically Midwest Batman.
...stronger.
What can't he do is a better question, I guess.
He will win. Wow. That's right. Now...
I can't tell what they're chanting. If someone else has a better idea. Yes, we Tim? Yes, we can?
Let's talk about what we're dealing with on the other side. So on that last topic, if Donald
We
Trump
will
gets
win?
a chance,
Gotcha.
he will end the Affordable Care Act. And take us back to a time when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. You remember what that was like? Children with asthma, breast cancer survivors, grandparents with diabetes. Well, Governor Walz and I will not let that happen. Because we believe health care should be a right and not just a privilege for those who can afford it.
Let's go. Let's make that a cornerstone of the campaign.
As governor, Tim has continued to fight for working families. He secured paid leave for workers in Minnesota.
It's true. He's been extremely good as the Minnesota governor.
And he refused, as governor, to allow any student in their public schools to go hungry. So he made school breakfast and lunch free for every child. And Tim Walz and I, we agree about many things, including when our middle class is strong, America is strong. And strengthening the middle class will be my defining goal as I am President of the United States. So Pennsylvania, ours is a fight for the future of the middle class, and it is a fight for freedom.
Just to catch you up on things that Tim Walz did as governor, he expanded the education investment by to $2.3 billion, one of the largest investments in public education in the state's history. They made Minnesota into a sanctuary state for trans people. They banned conversion therapy. They banned use of handheld cell phones while driving, raised the age to purchase tobacco to 21. They banned non-compete agreements, ensured paid sick leave and paid sick days, increased protections in Amazon warehouses, strengthened them across construction sites, hospitals, nursing homes, public schools, did the largest infrastructure bill in the state's history, cut taxes for the working and the middle class while raising them on the ultra-wealthy, expanded voting rights by establishing automatic voter registration, and they pre-register 16 and 17-year-olds to vote. It's really, really great. And there's also the Minnesota Voting Rights Act, which is a statewide mandate that prohibits any kind of standard that would infringe or limit your right to vote. Additionally, last year, they lowered the cost of prescription drugs in Minnesota, and specifically insulin, and they cut child poverty by establishing a child tax credit in Minnesota. Yeah, he's just good. They invested $1 billion into affordable low-income housing. Dude's been doing the stuff. They legalized weed and expunged non-violent cannabis convictions in Minnesota. How did they cut child poverty? By implementing a statewide child tax credit. It eliminated a third of families with children living in poverty. That's how. He also signed legislation to basically regulate elderly homes, old people homes, essentially by having actual standards that homes for the elderly have to maintain in order to continue receiving state funding. It's been really, really good. Additionally, they helped people suffering under medical debt. They passed legislation to ban medical debt from impacting credit scores. They prevented medical providers from withholding medical care until debts are paid. And also they eliminated the practice of automatically transferring medical debt to any surviving spouse of someone who needed treatment and passed away. So A lot of this is great. A lot of this is great. Cohn wrote, how did they cut child poverty? By giving a tax credit to families that are low income. I don't even think you need to be low income to be eligible for it. I think you just need to have a child. Transferring medical debt, that's not it's absolutely a thing. Are you kidding me? Have you never encountered this idea? It is in fact a thing. Oftentimes, if somebody dies under a lot of medical debt, what the people that hold on to that debt will do is attempt to try and transfer the debt to a surviving relative. So that under the claims that that relative is responsible for paying the debt of their deceased family member. That is something that has happened. That is something that, depending on your state, you can be on the hook for. I would suggest if you have, partners who are ill, that you look into the legal ramifications of that debt. Why is this country like this? Because privatized healthcare. That it's not a fact. It absolutely is a fact. I don't know how to explain this to you. Like, here, I don't know what to tell you on this one. Governor Walz ceremonially signs legislation to help Minnesotans with burden of medical debt. This is a press release from the office of Governor Tim Walz. Let's just see. Life-saving cancer treatment or a trip to the emergency room shouldn't cause a tanked credit score with a lifetime of debt. Thanks to the work of the Attorney General, legislators, and Minnesotans who have shared their stories, these reforms will help Minnesotans get the care they need, manage their medical debt, and feel protected. Now, what does this do? With passage and signing today of the Debt Fairness Act, we have a fairer, more dignified, and more just system for repaying debt than we did before. My thanks go to the chief authors of the legislation, Senator Liz Bolden and Representative Liz Rayer, for their outstanding work in seeing it through and passage, and to Governor Walz and the Lieutenant Governor Flanagan for their steadfast support. There is more work to do. We're not done yet, but today Minnesotans facing debt, including medical debt, can rest easier in the knowledge that the law provides them with more protections than it did before. That's according to Attorney General Ellis. The legislation eases the burden of medical debts for Minnesotans by banning medical providers from withholding necessary medical care due to unpaid debt, preventing medical debt from impacting credit scores, eliminating automatic transfers of medical debt to a patient's spouse, because that's a thing that happened prior to this legislation. You are not required for anyone else's unsecured debts. I've got really bad news for you about how the U.S. financial system works. It's not going to be pleasant for you, but people who hold on to debt tend to have a lot of money, and they lobby the government to be able to collect on that debt by any means necessary. So, in a lot of places, not Minnesota now, thankfully, but in a lot of places, that debt can be transferred to someone else, meaning that someone who issued the loan can sell that debt to someone else. It can effectively be traded like a commodity, and the debt can be moved from one person to another person posthumously. Usually there has to be some kind of relation there, but that is a circumstance that can happen. And I don't know where you've been for like the last 15 years. Maybe you're a small child, I don't know. But you should know that debts can be traded like this. You should know that debts can be moved like this. Oh, look, Eddie in chat, medical debtors calling you to try and collect is 100% true. My mother-in-law was hounded for months by my grandma's cancer bills she died from. Oh, that's so weird. I don't know. It's almost like Cone Road is not knowledgeable about this issue, I guess. They go after the estate, and sometimes they go after people related to the estate. Or if the estate got transferred, I don't know, by, like, say, someone dying, and their estate is now managed by their spouse, that spouse gets hounded before the medical debt. Like, this isn't rocket science. You should be able to understand that, right? And if the estate is broke, they will continue to go after the spouse. The idea that most people in America, when they die, have an estate, by the way? Are you kidding me? Where do you live? Do you literally live in, like, a castle somewhere? I don't know. It's not just medical debt either. It's true. It's not just medical debt. Oh, my goodness. Here, you know what? Let's take a look at the local news of Minnesota. And unless I guess the governor, the attorney general, the lieutenant governor, and all the local news are just telling lies. In which case, I don't know. I guess I can't help you here. But excessive medical debt sparks new legislation. Oh, look, they have a little story.
Well, medical debt is a huge problem for Minnesotans and, of course, people across the country.
Today, state lawmakers put forth some ideas to try and help people struggling to make payments. Chief political reporter John Croman takes a closer look.
We discovered that the insurance denied the claim because there was a billing code error from our doctors.
And St. Martin's son, Leo, was born with Pompe disease, which will require him to be on enzyme replacement therapy the rest of his life. His treatment team recommended a new drug that comes at a price of $34,000 a month. They switched to it after getting the green light from the insurance company. But then, a few months in, the insurer said Leo's doctors had provided the wrong billing code. And now the family's on the hook for $250,000.
The insurance company then went back and denied all the payments for the previous
but this could never happen in America. The system's perfect.
5 doses we had received. On top of all this, the insurance company dragged their feet, putting him on any type of other medication.
St. Martin appeared at a news conference laying out new medical debt reforms. State Rep Liz Ryer is the lead author in the House.
Charging patients for coding errors is a real issue contributing to medical debt, and we're going to stop it.
Another reform would ban providers from billing people for medical debt incurred by their spouses.
No other kind of debt can automatically be transferred between married couples without their consent.
Oh, damn. You mean that was something that happened in Minnesota prior to this law? That's crazy, dog. But maybe the attorney general and everyone working at the Minnesota department, State Department, you know, maybe all of them, they're just lying to you. It couldn't happen here. It's all a giant conspiracy, according to Cone Guy in chat.
But Minnesota law currently allows that to happen.
Oh, does it? Wow, it's good that somebody passed legislation about that.
Point, when Sue Myers of Lakeville lost her 23-year battle with cancer last year, her husband Walt was billed $135,000 because the in-home hospice service they'd been referred to was out of network.
Oh, you mean this guy's wife died and he was hit with over $100,000 worth of medical debt? Gee whiz, it sounds like it's pretty good that Tim Walz guy signed this law into being so that doesn't happen.
he turned to a legal service he'd heard about from a hospital social worker.
Now, I can only imagine, looking back, what my life would be like if I hadn't remembered that social worker's seemingly random comment that day. I'd still probably be making monthly payments on a six-figure medical bill that I didn't owe.
Some of the other things in this debt fairness bill, it would prohibit companies from reporting medical debt to credit bureaus. It would reduce the interest rate on medical debt down to 0%, and it would bar health providers from denying care based on unpaid debt.
Damn, that's crazy. Anyway.
In this moment, we are witnessing a full-on attack against hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights.
It's not legal to do that. It absolutely was legal to do that. It's not currently legal to do that because they passed a law to prevent that from happening.
Reproductive freedom. Now think about this. Donald Trump said he wants to punish...
Yeah, it's not legal now. They passed a law to stop it from happening. Conrad, if you seem incapable of understanding this very basic point, I'm just gonna ban you. Like, if you can't get that through your head, you're not gonna do very well here.
Punish women. And as a result of his actions, today in America, 1 out of 3 women live in a state with a Trump abortion ban. 1 out of 3. Some of these bans go back to the 1800s, even before women had a right to vote. Think about that. Well, Tim and I have a message for Trump and others who want to turn back the clock on our fundamental freedoms. We're not going back.
Look at him. Look at him. He like helped start the chant. Let's go.
And so let me say about Tim Walz, he has shown up to stand against these attacks long before he stood on the stage with me. After Roe was overturned, he was the first governor in the country to sign a new law that enshrined reproductive freedom as a fundamental right.
True. Yeah, oh my god, Lefty McLefterson, is this our one way out moment? Unironically, I think this is our one way out. I think this is our political equivalent of one way out. One way out. Let's go.
And with Tim Walz by my side when I am President of the United States and we win majorities in the United States Congress, we will pass a bill to restore reproductive freedom, and I will proudly sign it into law. Tim Walz has also defended the sacred freedom to vote. As governor, he signed the most significant expansion of voting rights in Minnesota in over 50 years.
Mr. Miyagi, yes, it's the best Star Wars thing.
And with Governor Walz's help, when I am president, we are going to finally pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act.
Salmon Moose.
We're going to get it done. So Tim is a hunter and a gun owner who believes, as the majority of gun owners do, that we need reasonable gun safety laws in America. So as governor, he expanded expanded background checks and increased penalties for illegal firearm sales. And together, when we win in November, we are finally going to pass universal background checks.
Fuck yeah.
Red flag laws. And
Let's
an
go.
assault weapons ban.
Let's go.
Through his work, Tim, the way I think about it, he really does shine a light on a brighter future that we can build together. In his state, he has been a model chief executive, and with his experience, I'm telling you, Tim Walz will be ready on day one. In fact, when you compare his resume shall we?
Oh, damn.
To Trump's running mate.
Get his ass.
Well.
Is she gonna drop a couch
some
meme?
might say it's like a matchup between the varsity team and the JV squad.
Okay. I really thought we were gonna get a couch meme. I thought that's what was gonna happen. We got a coach meme, not a couch meme.
So, Pennsylvania, ultimately in this election, we each face a question. What kind of country do we want to live in? A country of freedom, compassion, and rule of law, or a country of chaos, fear, and hate? And here's the beauty of our democracy. We each have the power to answer that question. We each have the power to answer that question.
NPC
The
Porky, I'm so
power is
excited.
with the people. We love our country. And I believe it is the highest form of patriotism to fight for the ideals of our country. That is how we preserve the promise of America. And after all, the promise of America is what makes it possible for two middle-class kids, one a daughter of Oakland, California, who was raised by a working mother, the other a son of the Nebraska plains who grew up working on a farm, it's the promise of America, because only in America is it possible for them together to make it all the way to the White House.
I'm riding high on the hopium, guys. This is such a breath of fresh air.
Only in America. Only in America.
It's a new morning in America.
And so Coach Walz and I may hail from different corners of our great country, but our values are the same. And we both believe in lifting people up, not knocking them down. He and I, we both know The vast majority of people in our country have so much more in common than what separates them. When we look at folks, we see in our fellow Americans neighbors, not enemies. Not enemies. And so my promise to you is this. Our campaign will reach out to everyone, from red states to blue states.
She's not going to pull a Hillary.
From the heartland to the coast.
I like this because it's also indicating she's not going to pull a Hillary and just overlook like rural, like working class areas, you know?
In rural, urban, suburban, and tribal communities. We are running a campaign on behalf of all Americans. And when elected, we will govern on behalf of all Americans.
Let's go.
And so, with Tim Walz by my side, and with all of you at our side, let us fight for the promise of our future. And with that, I ask Pennsylvania, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win!
Fuck, man. I'm you know, am I being lib-pilled right now? I'm feeling chills, man. This is good. She has come a long way. Like back in the primary, she did not have this level of command of an audience, and I was initially wondering if it was maybe just excitement that she's not Joe Biden. But I think at this point, I think we can definitively say she is much better at this than where she was 4 years ago.
And now!
She's sweet blasphemy. She's come a long way.
Welcome the next Vice President of the United States, Tim Walz.
Oh, let's go, baby. He coming.
Wow.
It's Popula. Mamala and Popula.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you, Madam Vice President, for the trust you put in me, but maybe more so, thank you for bringing back the joy.
The joy of helping people, helping your neighbors.
I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you and Doug, this incredible journey. And Pennsylvania, I know you know this, but my God, what a treasure you have in Josh Shapiro. Holy hell, can this guy bring the fire? He can bring the fire. This is a visionary leader. Also, I have to tell you, everybody in America knows when you need a bridge fixed, call that guy.
This is called being a graceful winner, chat.
And I think sometimes we forget, and you see people a little one-dimensional, but seeing a guy who cares so deeply about his family, a man with compassion, vision, and I'll have to tell you this, I know this from experience, there is no one you would rather go to a Springsteen concert in Jersey with than him, than that guy. Bruce. And I can't wait for all of you and America to get to know my incredible wife, Gwen, a 29-year public school educator. Don't ever underestimate teachers. And our two beautiful kids, Hope and Gus. I couldn't be prouder to be on this ticket and to help Vice President Harris become what we all know is very, very good for us to think about. Next President of the United States of America.
He's gonna be like the Rock of her campaign.
From her first day as a prosecutor, as a district attorney, Attorney General of the great state of California, a United States Senator, and Vice President of the United States.
The rock upon which she builds her White House, exactly.
Vice President Harris has fought on the side of the American people.
Yes, Somniostatic, this is the best case scenario.
She took on the fraudsters. She took down the transnational gangs. She stood up against powerful corporate interests, and she never hesitated to reach across the aisle if it meant improving people's lives.
America's dad right there.
And I want all of you to hold this, and don't ever underestimate the power of this. She does it all with a sense of joy. I know a little something about that commitment to people. I was born in West Point, Nebraska. I lived in Butte, a small town of 400, where community was a way of life. Growing up, I spent the summers working on the family farm. My mom and dad taught us, show generosity towards your neighbors and work for a common good.
Yep, everyone, when you live in a community that small, you all got to help each other out.
My dad served in the Army during the Korean War. And with his encouragement, at 17, I joined the Army National Guard. For 24 years, I proudly wore the uniform of this nation. The National Guard gave me purpose. It gave me the strength of a shared commitment to something greater than ourselves. And just as it did for my dad and millions of others, the GI Bill gave me a shot at a college education.
Yeah, all of this is to introduce himself to the non-politically involved normies, you know?
My dad was a teacher. My brothers and sisters and I followed in their footsteps. 3 out of 4 of us married teachers. What we do. For nearly 20 years, I had the privilege of teaching high school social studies and coaching football. Including winning that state championship. Thank you.
Oh, he didn't expect
Don't
that to
ever
get shouted
close
out.
the yearbook. Don't ever. But it was my students. They encouraged me to run for office. They saw in me what I was hoping to instill in them, a commitment of common good.
Can I just say real quick, shout out to state level representative Steve Swadzinski. When I was in high school, I had him as a teacher for like an advanced social studies and American history, and like it qualified as like college credit or whatever. But he went on, very similar story, was inspired by his students to go run for office, and now he's making the state better too.
Here's my fee for being late to the celebration. Sorry, it will definitely happen again.
Shadow Angel, thank you for the $5 super chat. Advanced placement class. It's like a class you can take in high school that is college level and then counts for college credit. Folks, Consider dropping subs, donos, memberships, because without you guys, this show cannot happen. I can't just drop everything to do a show about Tim Walz, but through all of you, all things are possible, okay? So please consider supporting the stream. Hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and do the things will help stream, okay? This man is mind-bogglingly wholesome, isn't it though? Isn't he? He's so great. I can't believe good things are happening. It is what a time to be alive. We get to see one of the good things.
A belief that one person can make a difference. So in 2006, I took a leap and I ran for Congress.
Squayatola, thank you for the gifted sub over on YouTube. I'm actually going to turn this volume down here and turn it up over here so that it's already at like 300% volume, but we'll go a bit higher so that I can not have my ears blown out by dono sounds when those happen. All right.
And because high school teachers are super optimistic, I was running in a district that had one Democrat since 1892. Well, my neighbors graced me with an opportunity to represent them in the United States House of Representatives. I'm proud of the work we did there together. I worked across the aisle.
Yo, Bionicle, thank you very much for becoming a member. I'm going to turn it down even more because for some reason it's still very loud. We'll just go all the way up to 600%. This is as loud as I can make it, chat.
Veterans issues, on agriculture, and on ways to grow rural economies. I learned the art of compromise without compromising my values.
Lady Raincloud, it is the best timeline.
And now, as governor of the great state of Minnesota, I bring those experiences to bear in tackling the challenges that are facing our great state. Minnesota's strength comes from our values, our commitment to working together, to seeing past our differences, to always being willing to lend a helping hand. Those are the same values I learned on the family farm and tried to instill in my students. I took it to Congress and to the state capitol, and now Vice President Harris and I are running to take those very values to the White House.
He's boring you right now because I just spent the past 2 hours telling you about him.
Now, Donald Trump sees the world a little differently than us. First of all, he doesn't know the first thing about service. He doesn't have time for it because he's too busy serving himself. Again and again and again, Trump weakens our economy to strengthen his own hand.
True.
He mocks our laws. He sows chaos and division.
Oh, man.
And that's to say nothing of his record as president.
What a bulldog. Let's go. Civility politics are over.
In the face of the COVID crisis. He drove our economy into the ground. And make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump. That's not even counting the crimes he committed.
Oh, get his ass. Dog. Oh man, he's chuckling. He's only getting started.
You know, some of us are some of us in here are old enough to remember. I see you down there. I see those old white guys. Some of us are old enough to remember when it was Republicans who were talking about freedom. It turns out now what they meant was the government should be free to invade your doctor's office. In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make. Even if we wouldn't make the same choice for ourselves, there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
Yes, weaponize it. Weaponize Minnesota nice. Oh, he's coming in with the people's elbow.
These guys are after my heart chanting, mind your own damn business. That feels good, so thank you. Look, that includes IVF, and this gets personal for me and my family. When my wife and I decided to have children, we spent years going through infertility treatments. And I remember praying every night for a call for good news. The pit in my stomach when the phone rang, and the agony when we heard that the treatments hadn't worked. So it wasn't by chance that when we welcomed our daughter into the world, we named her Hope.
This guy is channeling Tim Conway.
When Vice President and I talk about freedom, we mean the freedom to make your own health care decisions.
Oh, if you don't know what the people's elbow is, here, let me pull up. I think this is good. This is a good enough GIF. Here you go. The people's elbow is like you just, boom.
And for our children
It's a
to
big
be free
kaboom.
to go to school without worrying they'll be shot dead in their classrooms.
Oh, damn. Let's go. Let's make politics real. Tim, let's go.
By the way, as you heard, I was one of the best shots in Congress, but in Minnesota, we believe in the Second Amendment, but we also believe in common sense gun violence laws.
True. True. Tim the Rock Walz, true.
Vice President Harris' idea of freedom is a ticket for education to be that ticket to the middle class, not crippling debt. Air that's clean, water that's pure, communities that are safe.
Let's go! Water is life.
A place where we settle our political differences not through violence, but with our votes.
With our boats?
And that's what this election's about.
River boats?
What direction will this country go in?
Annie, thanks for the raid. Welcome, Raiders. You're coming at a great
We're
time.
not going back. Well, Donald Trump would damn sure take us backwards. Let's be clear about that. And don't believe him when he plays dumb. He knows exactly what Project 2025 will do to restrict our freedoms.
Let's go. Refocus. The bulldog is here.
To rig the economy to help the super rich. If Trump gets a chance to return, he's going to pick up exactly where he left off 4 years ago. Only this time, it will be much, much worse. Raising costs on middle-class family. He will repeal the Affordable Care Act, no doubt about it. He'll gut Social Security and Medicare. And when somebody tells you they believe him. He said he'd ban abortion across this country, and he'll do it, whether or not Congress is there or not. Donald Trump's not fighting for you or your family. He never sat at that kitchen table like the one I grew up at, wondering how we were going to pay the bills. He sat at his country club up in Mar-a-Lago, wondering how he can cut taxes for his rich friends. And I got to tell you, his running mate shares his dangerous and backward agenda for this country. J.D. Vance literally wrote the foreword for the architect of the Project 2025 agenda.
True. Get him.
Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, J.D. studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community.
Yes.
That's
Get his
not
ass.
what middle America is.
Cook
and I gotta
him.
tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy.
Let's go. I am so pumped right now. Pop the trunk, we got a body to bury. Oh my god.
That is if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. You see what I did there?
Has someone checked on J.D. Vance? Is he dead? Did Governor Walz just fucking annihilate him? Are we sure he's still like 6 feet? 6 feet above ground? Like what? My god. I feel like he just got atomized from orbit. Yeah, absolute fatality. Popula coming in with the people's elbow. He just had an entire stadium of people laughing about how Donald Trump's vice presidential pick fucks couches. Can we take a moment to just revel in how, one, insane that is, and how, two, there's no coming back from that. You know, there's no scenario here where J.D. Vance is okay after this.
Just a few weeks ago, we were completely doomer-pilled. Now I have never been so excited for an election. We winning this, fam.
True! Tipster, thank you for the $5 dono. I appreciate it. Am I dreaming? Not even a little. Let's keep going, folks. One of the biggest applause lines I've ever seen in a VP acceptance speech.
I gotta tell you.
She's trying so hard to remain composed. Mamala's very proud of her Popula.
Pointing out just an observation of mine that I made. I just have to say it. You know it, you feel it.
Squayatola, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. I appreciate it.
These guys are creepy and yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see. That's what you see.
It's true.
So you know what's out there, so say it with me. We aren't going back. We aren't going back. We are not going back.
Yeah, I think Tim Walz just substituted the brats in his hot dish recipe for some fried up J.D. Vance.
So we got 91 days. My God, that's easy. We'll sleep when we're dead.
Fuck yeah, let's go! I am so hyped, man.
Over those next 91 days and every day in the White House, I'll have Vice President Harris's back. Every single day. And we'll have yours. You know how this works. We can't do it alone. We need you, each and every one of you. Go over to KamalaHarris.com, get on board, because we need you. Freedom to make our own choices. This leader, this compassionate, careful, joyous leader believes in each and every one of you. My God, you came here tonight to sit at the very top because you love this country and you're not going back. She believes in the opportunity for every single person to join the middle class. She believes in the promise of America. We just got to fight. We just got to fight. Because as soon-to-be President Harris says, when we fight, we win.
Let's go! You need to fight for the dream of America.
Thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you, Vice President. God bless America.
Woo! Let's go! The hypest VP pick she could have gone with. Chat, look at how big this arena is, by the way. Completely sold out. Like, Trump couldn't even fill the nosebleeds. They filled the entire house. Oh, we are coming. We are coming, folks. We're coming for that White House. We just gotta fight for it. That was incredible. Yeah, look, the hype stocks are up, okay? The stonks are going up. Tomorrow in Michigan, she's holding a rally in a hangar at Detroit Metro Airport. Yeah, every single day this week, they're going and doing a rally in a different state. They're basically doing a tour, like a rapid tour of the country in an attempt to get as many rallies in as possible between now and next week. Again, this is going to be pivotal. Pivotal, folks. 50 states, let's go. Darn right. Oh, that was good. I'm not used to getting good things when talking about politics. I'm not used to getting people who understand the base, and frankly, the fact that Tim Walz was able to make a couch reference tells me that he's paying attention, you know? He's paying attention to input from the ground, which is something that not many politicians do. And I think a lot of this speech, while the punches were great, a lot of what I enjoyed about this speech was the re-angling of the campaign away from, you know, Orange Man bad, which is a valid point, and we need to continue making it, but that should not be the centerpiece of the campaign. You need to run a campaign on hope, on policy, on better things coming. And that's exactly what they did. They pivoted in the direction you need to go, because you should be attacking your opponent as bad, as having policies inferior to your own, but you need to have a vision for the future. You can't just coast by on vibes, either from yourself or your opponent. You need substance. You need actual policy positions and the frankly, the gumption to fight for them. Biden failed spectacularly in a lot of these regards, and I was worried Kamala Harris, who's inheriting a lot of his campaign infrastructure, would fall into similar traps, and yet here we are, and she has made the sensible, logical pick for the presidency, or vice president spot, And, like, that was better than any vice president acceptance speech I've ever seen in my life. Okay? That was really, really good. I cannot remember the last time anyone in America got hyped over a VP acceptance speech. The biracial ticket has this bi babe shocked, happy. Yeah. The fact that, like, when Tim Walz leaves office, his lieutenant governor and himself are lockstep, so she's going to continue his progressive policies, and she's going to hold the highest elected office of any indigenous person in U.S. history. Like, I feel like him going to the VP spot is good on, like, basically every level. Like, we get a more progressive governor of Minnesota. We, the kind of governor that wears Protect Trans Kids shirts. I threw it up on screen earlier. I don't know if I still have it handy, but, like, we're in a completely new era of politicking, guys. And I don't know how this could go anything less than well, short of, like, devastating revelations coming out about Tim Walz or something. And I just don't see that happening. I feel like they've got all the dirt they're gonna get on Tim Walz. You know? This is an interesting observation from the senior political columnist at Politico, and I think it's worth pointing out. The word I heard from Dems last night was compatibility, and clearly she had a better vibe with a peer like Walz than Shapiro. And again, I told you this yesterday, it really probably came down to how they interacted and vibed together during those personal interviews. But what's striking isn't that she just landed on the left's preferred pick, it's that she defied so many Democratic consultants who preferred Shapiro. But the ideological price of this is largely wish casting, to put it mildly. Any Dem operative or elected who knows Harris or Walz will tell you they're not true believers. They're politicians and want to win. To wit, the GOP VP nom is more committed to Lena Khan than the Democrat. The idea that Walz signals a commitment to some expansive liberal agenda and not a personal connection with a good communicator with a superb resume is such a bizarre misread of the moment and the VP's instincts. Think of it this way. There is a reason so many people assumed she'd go Roy Cooper, another governor she vibed with and was a peer. She basically picked a walleye version of Cooper. Folks, it wasn't her hopes they could create a socialist fantasia. It was the totally predictable chemistry she'd have with a normie Midwest bloke her own age. Exactly! But, like, that's the thing. He has political, like, expediency to him, and he has good vibes. That's the thing. That's the thing. You know, like, he's not a weirdo. And I think that one of the things here that's interesting is that Walz isn't a progressive, guys. And this is one thing that I've been trying to say over and over again. He's a liberal. The issue is he is a savvy political liberal, insofar as he goes where the wind pushes him. He is a liberal with good common sense, and who seems to be driven by a desire to do good. And therefore, he listens to his constituents and adjusts his policies accordingly. And that means he's open to being pushed. And in a similar way, and we know this because Kamala Harris has been like this her entire career, and for the fact that she vibes with him, Kamala Harris is built the same way, which means she can be pushed, which means we are now in a position in America, if we can get our leftist asses together on this one, we can push Kamala Harris to the left. Yeah. He was more centrist in Congress, but as a governor, he's more left-wing. And that's because there's a lot more left-wing sentiment that he faces as the governor of Minnesota. So let's push him to the left. Also, did you find this? Yeah, you found it. You found it. My favorite picture of the lieutenant governor. This is I think Peggy Flanagan. And she's the lieutenant governor of Minnesota, and she's going to become the governor if Walz wins the VP spot. She will, again, she's a member of the Ojibwe Nation and, or White Earth Nation of Ojibwe. And she will be the highest elected official with an indigenous background if she becomes governor of Minnesota, because she's already currently the highest elected indigenous person in U.S. history. So, like, it's great, man. Like, and here's just an example of, like, Walz has done right by indigenous people, and I feel like this is another way we can further that cause by putting an indigenous woman in a position of power. After 161 years, land was officially returned to the Upper Sioux community. Nearly 20 years have passed since Alida Gouge told Tribal Chair Kevin Jasvold that she wanted to seek return of the Upper Sioux Agency State Park to the Upper Sioux community. Gouge was serving as the tribe's secretary at the time. It was hard to imagine the return. When it happened, emotion welled up at Friday's signing ceremony. Gouge spoke about the significance of the land to her, recalling it as a place where she has sought respite during some of the most difficult times in her life. She talked about the land as the final resting place of many of their ancestors and the outrage felt by tribal members for having to pay state park fees to visit burial and prayer sites. The park is not just recreational. I consider it, I am not going to be able to pronounce this well, I apologize, Wokiksui Ka'awanagi. Makokse, a land of memories and spirits. It is to be walked upon with respect and reverence, said Gouge. In speaking with the chairman that day, so many years ago, I shared with him many feelings of annoyance, disgust, and downright anger. Pejihutazizi Dakota Nation has had to reclaim it, and the Minnesota state had to return it, she said. Hundreds of people gathered to mark the return of about 2 square miles of southwest Minnesota to the Upper Sioux community. It's a simple truth, what we're talking about here. None of us were here back then to participate in the wrongs that happened, but we're here today to help make the rights, said Upper Sioux Tribal Chairman Kevin Jesvold. And joining Jesvold, Gouge, and members of the Upper Sioux Tribal Council were Governor Tim Walz, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and Minnesota Department of Natural Resources Commissioner Sarah Stroman. Together, they signed the legal and ceremonial deeds at the Upper Sioux headquarters necessary for the conveyance of the land. Laughter punctuated the solemnity of the day's work. Motioning to Flanagan, a citizen of the White Earth Nation, Gouge said, I think that when Peggy was here a couple of years ago, I told her that until we get the land back or the state park back, the Vikings are not going to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. And Minnesota's had a very troubled history and, a very not good history when it comes to how the state has treated indigenous people. So there have been more and more ongoing efforts in recent years to kind of heal that divide. And Governor Walz has played a part in that. And I think that this is a good thing to point out. For many years, the Minnesota Historical Society helped maintain the site, known historically as the Upper Sioux Agency, the name from which the state park took its name. The site was where the U.S. withheld annuities during the summer of 1862, an act which resulted in the starvation and death among Dakota people that year. Those events would lead to the U.S.-Dakota War of 1862, the mass execution of Mankato the same year, the internment of Dakota families at Fort Snelling that winter, and Dakota exile from the state. Those historical realities were reflected in the black t-shirts which read 161 years, a reference to the events that led to the outright theft of Dakota land and the amount of time it took for one parcel to be returned. It's a small start, but I think in Minnesota we can keep the ball rolling, you know? Let's return I frankly my position is we should return land that is currently held by the federal government, which is most state park land. You know, I think, and even non-state park land. And Lady Raincloud wants to point out, chat, this is one of the only politicians to actually do it, to actually give the land back. Yeah, not sell it back. Give it back. It's a big deal, and I think a big difference as well. Just let's talk a little bit about his Walz's presence there. Just before the ceremonies began, Walz took a selfie with a group of Dakota high school students. A former history teacher, the governor spoke to the historical significance of the moment, saying that he was among he was among at least 2 Minnesota governors who have visited the site in the past. He said the first, Henry Sibley, was a colonel fighting against Dakota people more than a century and a half ago. Walz drew a sharp contrast between himself and Sibley, and to the signing of treaties. Quote, everyone in this room knows, the Yellow Medicine people know, our Dakota and Ojibwe brothers and sisters know, when there's an official treaty signing or official documents, that almost always ended in sorrow and tears for your community. Today is not that day. Today is not that day. And as the chairman spoke about what we are here to do, to return this land to the original caretakers. You know, it's just, dude's a good dude. And he can be pressured into doing things that seem incredibly cutting edge in the world of politics. Because it's right, and because his constituents demand it. And I think I think at the end of the day, that's most of what you need to know about Tim Walz. We did it. We did it, Tim. All I know about Minnesota is it's been aggressively resettling war refugees since at least the Vietnam War. School teacher from there told me, if you see a war zone on the news, find out what language they speak there, because kids from there will be in your classes inside a year. Sundry Clan Car. Correct. We have large diaspora communities in Minnesota, and I think that's one of the things that makes it great. That's one of the things that makes it great. You know, whether it's Somalian refugees or Hmong immigrants or like, you know, we wind up being a place that accepts a lot of different people because our history is one of, I mean, well, we've tried. Let me put it that way. It's not always been successful in that regard, but we're getting better. And I hope that that means in the future we can rectify the past wrongs of the state, of which there have been many. I'm kind of scared to feel this hopeful, but that just means I need to turn this into action. Shoes pounding the pavement and butts in seats at the phone bank. Exactly, fundamentally broken. You know, this is why we need to get out for progressive victory. This is why we need to get out for, like, you know, even just phone banking directly for the Kamala Harris campaign. Like, whatever you gotta do. Whatever you gotta do. The proper term is Somali, not Somalian. My apologies. So, yeah. It's a good day. And I know that there are going to be people online telling you, "Oh, don't lose your mind over this. Don't get too excited. You know, they're both bad." But you know what? Take the goddamn W. Spend a day or two feeling good and hopeful, because goddamn have you deserved it. Okay? I know each and every one of you here has felt hopeless and sad and doomer-pilled for a long time now. So take the W and enjoy it for a day or two, and then it's time to roll up our sleeves and get to work, okay? Because we need to fight for it. We need to fight for the American dream and fight for a future. And folks, if you've been enjoying the stream, please hit the follow button on Twitch, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, like the YouTube stream, and please consider dropping subs, donos, super chats, memberships, etc., because those are what allow me to do this job. You guys are the ones that make these streams possible. I couldn't do it without your support and viewers like you. So thank you very much to anyone and everyone who supported my stream today and in the past, and who may in the future. It's morning in America, baby. Great coverage. Thanks for the stream. You're very welcome, Max Danger. No, they're not both bad. One is genuinely good guy, and one has... No. When I say they're both bad, fundamentally broken, I mean that there are leftists who are going to be telling you that Tim Walz is the devil, and so is Kamala Harris. And I'm just asking people to just, ignore those people for like a day and enjoy the win. Kane 699, we just finished it. It was glorious. It was glorious. Thank you. Seriously, I haven't felt this hope in years. What a good day.
Mamala and Papala. It's a good day, Peepo cheer.
True! Winby, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs being gifted. I appreciate it. I hope chatters appreciate it. And also, just a big old thank you to Uncle Tony, Chunkle. Thank you for the gifting of a tier 2 sub to Thistles for Eyes. That's very kind of you. I'm not even American, nor in the US. I'm just excited about this is all. Well, but that's the thing, right? Like, American foreign policy flows downstream from American domestic politics. And so, like, whatever happens here, unfortunately, affects the rest of the world. Us being able to organize and get our shit together in America determines whether or not we get embroiled in some bullshit war on the other side of the planet. Like, literally, if Al Gore had won, do you think we would have done, like, an invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq? No. So if we get our shit together as leftists, we can prevent so many atrocities. Trust me, I'm Irish. Trust me when I say the whole world hangs off America in some way or not. Yeah, it's wild, and I wish it wasn't so, but those are the cards we're dealt, so let's... As Americans, it's our duty to organize. Not just for ourselves, not just for our kids, but for the kids of every nation, and for the, the betterment of every other nation. Because, frankly, I would hope that a more leftist government would, not do coups in Latin America, for example. When was the last time you can remember Democrats conceding that they need the left? I have never seen it. I have never... Like, choosing Walz... I'm sorry, I'm getting, like, a little emotional. Choosing Walz is indicative of such a sea change in American politics and within the Democratic Party. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think we would see that for, like, another 10 years. I thought we were 10 or 12 years away from a moment like this, and for it to happen today is very unexpected, and it makes me so energized. I think we can do it. If we win in this election, we've been given, I want you all to appreciate, we have been given an off-ramp from fascist takeover of the world hyperpower. We've been given an off-ramp. Even if it was the shittiest off-ramp you can possibly imagine, we had out of necessity to take that road. And yet, our off-ramp is looking pretty good. You know, I was thinking the off-ramp was going to have, like, you know, spike traps and oil slicks and, like, you know, barricades armed by, like, Mad Max, like, goons. But no, like, it's actually looking pretty free and clear. We just have to choose to turn the car. So let's fucking go. You have 2-foot deep potholes. And the final stretch of the bad off-ramp is just you have to Thelma and Louise over the Grand Canyon. Ash 3030. I remember getting recommended a bad empanada video about why you, as a leftist, should vote for Trump that dropped like a day or two after Biden dropped out. I thought it was an elaborate troll video at first, but unfortunately it seems to be serious. Sunk cost fallacy is truly a bitch, as evidenced by Twitter-brained lefties. I wouldn't call bad empanada a lefty, frankly. Like, I don't know that bad empanada has, like, a coherent political ideology. He mostly just seems to be... I mean, he's been posting, like, anti-Semitic memes for, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. Like, that seems mostly like his thing. And mixed with a healthy dose of, like, contrarianism. Like, that seems to be it. An unhealthy dose, rather. Has Bad Empanada finally pivoted to MAGA communism? I don't know and I don't care. He's irrelevant to me. He's like I don't know, has the crazy person on the corner pivoted?
It's got a lot of potholes and has gravel all over, but the road ahead falls off a cliff.
True. Thank you for the $5 dono, Catalina Gearbox. Yeah, no, there's like, you know, did the crazy man on the street corner pivot from talking about alien abductions to flat Earth? Like, what, you know, that to me, that's about the equivalent of asking, like, did Bad Empanada pivot his political ideology? You beat the last boss of the DLC and got the best possible VP pick. How you feeling? I feel rock hard politically. Just politically, not physically. It's not even policies either, though they are important. Kamala and Tim are, as they say, joyous. True. Hey, Paladin. We've gone from an off-ramp onto a coconut tree-lined drive. Exactly. Yeah, Jobertus Maximus, I beat the final boss of the DLC last night. I'm so excited. I did it, OS Crane. I did it. I might still play through the rest of the base game with, like, one of the DLC weapons or something, but I did it. I soloed Radon. I did it. Just call me, let me solo him, all right? What Bad Empanada failed to consider is that America is a global superpower, and if America goes to shit, it's going to have effects in the rest of the world. I don't know what it is, but there are these conservative elements of the online left that are like, oh yeah, well, you know, maybe we need to let the entire planet suffer to, like, overcome authoritarianism. And it's like, how do you think making the entire world suffer under, like, an authoritarian superpower is going to make the world less authoritarian? And, like, I don't know, the world suffered under kings and queens and monarchs for, like, thousands of years. Like, what do you think is going to make this round different other than ceding political ground to the worst people imaginable? God. Kamala Harris arriving with Tim Walz for the 2024 election. It do kind of feel like that, don't it? It does kind of feel like we were being besieged in Minas Tirith. All hope was lost. Our mad king had thrown himself in flames from the tower, the highest tower of the land, and all hope seemed lost, and finally the sun has dawned in America. Sister Rose, thank you for the 100 biddies. Flashback to DJ Muelz and the parallel systems he did nothing to build, saying in his smug voice, "We don't vote because you know we're smart." Again, I completely and utterly reject the idea that, you know, the smart thing to do as a theory of political change is to sit on your ass. Again, anyone who's peddling that the most revolutionary act you can do is stay on the couch and stay home and stay uninvolved is, well, they're fundamentally conservative. They fundamentally exist to cede power to the worst people imaginable. You don't win a duel by leaving your sword at home, okay? Stay on the couch, eh? The revolutionary will be live tweeted. Brianna Joy Gray was saying that today. Are you... Brianna Joy... You know what? I've been putting off going over a video on Brianna Joy Gray for a while. Specifically the one where she guested on Candace Owens' show. And I think we might do that later. It might be time. Oh, God. Do we have any more Oilers in chat? Do we got any oil for the riverboat? Oil? Cursed content? Look, okay, I'm planning on streaming again later tonight, and I'm planning to go over the Donald Trump and Aiden Ross stream because it's pretty funny. And also, we might go over the Candace Owens, Brianna Joy Gray video. I think we might do both. Because there's no, it is, that seems like a cursed but funny combo. Don't forget XQC was there. I'm still trying to figure out if XQC was there because he's just a ideological sycophant, or if he was there as a troll. I can't tell yet. I'll need to see in the full thing. Thank you for streaming as always. You're amazing. Thank you, Foxy Cheshire. Dude. He's like the president, chat. Dude, look. Dude, look. One more thing about Walz. I'm sincerely so grateful I grew up in Minnesota and not like Texas or something. Me too. Actually, remind me tonight. It'll be easier to do it from my desk than for my phone. Okay, Paladin, I will do. Is Aiden Ross in trouble with the FEC over his gifts to Trump? We'll go over it in that segment later. But for now, I'm going to go and I'm going to hug my partner and give her a few smooches and maybe make her dinner. And I might be streaming from my other setup later tonight. So the screen cap of Kamala during the speech says it all. Well, we'll take one look at that before we go. Yeah, she's like, damn, all right, damn, I was not expecting that. I love it. I love their dynamic. Tell your partner to put some posters or flags in this room. Needs some sprucing up. Well, the thing is, maybe I can. There are a lot of posters and stuff over in her workspace. It's just that this is my workspace, and like, as you can see, there's a mannequin just hanging right there that definitely doesn't freak me out at all at night. But there's a lot of like lingerie inspo on the walls, and I love it actually. I think it's really pretty. They're all like fashion inspiration and like old like fashion advertisements that like help her to come up with like new designs and stuff. Is that real Is that a real person with no arms? No, it's just a dress form for like designing underwear on. I was not familiar with your game. I have a rant about online leftists and fascists. Save it for later, because I'm gonna go now. The mannequin would freak me out too. Yeah, it's just hanging there. But my goal, and this is why I need you all to support me, okay? My goal is to start, is to get a renovation done in this basement so that I have my own room that I can then decorate and like set up as my main streaming space. So consider supporting stream. But with that being said, let's raid you all into... Let's see, who are we gonna raid into here? Oh, someone wanted to guide the raid to wow, I can't say it. Nyan Binary Overlord. All right, I don't know who that is, but sure, why not? They only have 2 viewers, so be nice. Be nice and hit the follow button. It will make their day, okay? It'll make their day, and you know, I think that would be nice. Well, right in, if you're over on the YouTube, consider coming over to riverboat.gg. You can watch the stuff hosted over there, make new friends. We got a bunch of cool friendos over here. And with that, y'all have a good one. I'll be back later tonight. Bye!